When people ask me about betrayal, I don't talk about ex-boyfriends or backstabbing coworkers. No. For me, betrayal has a face, a name, and the same last name as mine. My own sister. My name is Clara, and I grew up believing that family was everything. My parents weren't wealthy people, but they were kind, hardworking, and determined to give me and my older sister, Vanessa, the best childhood possible. We didn't always have the newest toys or the fanciest vacations, but we had love. That was enough. Or at least, I thought it was. When our parents passed away, first Mom after a long illness, then Dad just 2 years later, it felt like our world crumbled. I was only 23 at the time, just starting my career, while Vanessa was nearly 30, already married, already settled. Losing them was the hardest thing I had ever gone through. But one thing kept me steady, the belief that Vanessa and I still had each other. I trusted her completely. The inheritance wasn't massive, but it was meaningful. Our parents left us their house, some savings, and a small piece of land just outside town. The kind of things that weren't about wealth, but about roots, about family history. The house was where we grew up, every corner filled with memories. The land had been in our family for generations. I assumed, naturally, that we'd share it all fairly. After the funeral, Vanessa hugged me tight and said, "Don't worry about anything, Clara. I'll handle the paperwork. You just focus on yourself. I'll take care of us." Those words stayed with me. I clung to them, believing they meant she had my back. For months, I asked little questions about how the estate settlement was going. She always brushed them off. "It's complicated," she'd say. "Lawyers are slow. Don't stress about it." And I didn't stress. I let her handle everything. Until one afternoon, about a year later, when I ran into an old family friend who casually mentioned something that stopped me cold. "Clara, I didn't know Vanessa sold your parents' land," she said, her voice cheerful, as if she were talking about the weather. My heart stuttered. "What land?" "The property outside town," she replied. "I heard she sold it a few months back." "Didn't she tell you?" I felt my stomach drop. My hands shook as I clutched my bag tighter. No, Vanessa hadn't told me. Not a word. That night, I confronted her. I drove to her house, my pulse pounding with every mile. When she opened the door, she looked annoyed to see me. "What's wrong with you barging in like this?" she snapped. "Did you sell Mom and Dad's land?" I asked, my voice trembling. For a second, her face flickered guilt. "Maybe," but then she rolled her eyes. "Oh, that? Yeah, I sold it. It was just sitting there, Clara. We didn't need it. My voice cracked. "Vanessa, that land was half mine." She scoffed. "Don't be dramatic. I used the money to pay off some debts. Besides, you wouldn't have done anything with it." Her words hit me like a punch. She had taken something that belonged to both of us, sold it behind my back, and then dismissed me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "You had no right," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. Her expression hardened. "I had every right. I'm the one who handled the estate. Honestly, Clara, you should be thanking me. You're too young to deal with this stuff. You should be focusing on your career, not worrying about old property." I stood there in her doorway, my chest heaving, unable to believe what I was hearing. The sister I had trusted, the sister I had leaned on after losing our parents, had stolen from me. But it didn't stop there. In the weeks that followed, more truths came to light. Vanessa hadn't just sold the land. She had transferred the savings account into her name alone. She had taken full ownership of the house, telling the lawyers that I didn't want it since I was renting an apartment closer to work. She had rewritten our parents' legacy in her own favor, leaving me with nothing. Every discovery was like a knife twisting deeper. I replayed every moment in my head, the hugs, the promises, the way she had told me not to worry. It was all a performance. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rip everything back from her greedy hands. But instead, I found myself sitting in my tiny apartment, staring at the walls, asking myself over and over why. Why would she do this to me? The answer came slowly, painfully. She had done it because she could. Because I had trusted her too much. Because I believed in family too much. And she had seen that trust as weakness. One evening, I sat with a box of old family photos on my lap. Pictures of Mom holding us as babies, Dad teaching us to ride bikes, birthdays, Christmas mornings, Sunday dinners. In every picture, Vanessa smiled like the perfect big sister, protective and proud. I looked at those photos until my vision blurred with tears. And then, somewhere in the middle of that grief, another feeling crept in. Not sadness, not helplessness, resolve. If Vanessa thought she had won, if she thought she could betray me, steal from me, and then laugh about it, she was wrong. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I wasn't going to lower myself to her level. No, I was going to wait, watch, and when the time was right, I was going to give her something she would never forget. A gift. The kind of gift that changes everything. The night I discovered Vanessa's betrayal, I barely slept. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying her smug words, her dismissive tone, the way she waved off years of our parents' sacrifice as if it meant nothing. By sunrise, my grief had hardened into something sharper. Not blind rage, not anymore. Something colder. Something that whispered, she thinks she's won. But this game isn't over. I made myself a strong cup of coffee and sat at my kitchen table with a notebook. If Vanessa wanted to play dirty, I would play smarter. The first thing I wrote down was this: her weakness is greed. Vanessa had always been obsessed with money. Growing up, she used to hide allowance coins under her mattress, counting and recounting them. As adults, while I focused on my career, she married a man with a cushy income, quit her job, and became a stay-at-home socialite. But her lifestyle was always bigger than her wallet. Designer purses, expensive vacations, charity galas she insisted on attending just to be seen. Debt. That was her shadow. If greed was her weakness, then I had my leverage. I started researching. Not about her finances, not yet. Instead, I dug into the property records. It took me 2 bus rides to reach the county clerk's office, but when I held those papers in my hands, I nearly cried. My name was still on some of the documents. Vanessa had rushed things, cutting corners to cover her tracks. She had full control over the land sale, yes, but the house and accounts were trickier. She thought I wouldn't notice. She thought I wouldn't bother. But she had underestimated me. That night, I pulled out the box of family photos again. Not to cry this time, but to remind myself of my purpose. My parents had worked their entire lives for what they left us. They wanted both their daughters cared for, equally. Vanessa had spat on that wish. I owed it to Mom and Dad not just to fight back, but to do it in a way Vanessa would never forget. I needed help. The next day, I called a lawyer, one who had been a friend of my father's. His name was Mr. Caldwell, a quiet, sharp-eyed man who always seemed to know more than he let on. When I explained the situation, his expression tightened. "Clara," he said, leaning forward, "your sister has crossed several legal lines here. Selling property without your consent, transferring funds meant to be split, it won't hold up in court. You still have rights." My chest loosened with relief, but I wasn't after just a legal victory. I wanted justice. Sweet, undeniable justice. "Mr. Caldwell," I said slowly, "I don't just want my share back. I want her to feel what she did. I want her to regret underestimating me." His lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then we'll make sure she does." For the next few weeks, my life became a careful dance of secrecy. I met with Mr. Caldwell after work, going through documents, signing affidavits, building a case that was airtight. We traced every transfer Vanessa had made, every shady move. With each revelation, my resolve grew stronger. But a straight legal battle wasn't enough. Vanessa thrived on appearances. She lived for social approval. So I decided that my revenge would strike her where it hurt the most, her reputation. The perfect opportunity came sooner than I expected. Vanessa was planning a massive charity gala at her country club, a chance to show off her generosity while wearing a gown worth more than most people's cars. I heard about it through mutual acquaintances who gushed about how glamorous it would be. I nearly laughed. She was parading around as some saint, all while stabbing her own sister in the back. That's when my plan crystallized. I would not just take back what was mine. I would reveal her betrayal in front of the very people she sought to impress. Her friends, her husband, her entire social circle. She would have nowhere to hide. To prepare, I gathered everything. Bank statements, copies of property deeds, proof of the land sale, even emails she had sent to lawyers pretending to act on my behalf. Each page was a weapon, sharp and undeniable. At night, I practiced what I would say. I stood in front of my mirror, imagining the look on her face when the truth spilled out. I pictured the way her fake smile would crumble, the way her friends would whisper behind their manicured hands. Some nights I faltered, doubt creeping in. She was my sister, after all. Could I really do this? Could I humiliate her the way she had humiliated me? But then I remembered the sound of her voice, that night at her door, so cold, so smug, as she told me I should be grateful. The memory burned away my hesitation. This wasn't about petty revenge. It was about balance. About showing Vanessa that betrayal has consequences. Finally, the night of the gala arrived. I dressed carefully, not in anything flashy, but in something elegant and understated. I wanted to look composed, unshaken, untouchable. As I slipped the envelope of documents into my purse, my hands didn't tremble. For the first time in months, I felt steady, strong. I looked at myself in the mirror one last time and whispered, "Tonight, everything changes." When I arrived at the country club, the ballroom glittered with chandeliers and the clinking of champagne glasses. Women in sequined gowns laughed beside men in tailored suits. And there, at the center of it all, was Vanessa, radiant in gold silk, smiling like the queen of her own empire. She didn't see me right away. But when she did, her smile faltered, just for a second. She hadn't invited me, of course. But I was family, and in public, she had to play nice. "Clara," she exclaimed, air-kissing my cheek. What a surprise. I smiled back, my heart calm, my plan unfolding. "You know me," I said sweetly. "I wouldn't miss it." As the evening went on, I waited. Waited for the perfect moment. Waited for the crowd to gather close, their attention fixed on Vanessa, as she prepared to make her big speech about generosity, family, and legacy. That's when I would step forward. That's when I would give her the gift she would never forget. Because this wasn't just revenge. This was justice wrapped in truth, tied with a bow of her own greed. And the best part? She wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. When the day of Vanessa's birthday finally arrived, I walked into the banquet hall with calm steps, my head held high. The room was buzzing with chatter, glittering with chandeliers, and filled with her friends and business partners. She had spared no expense. After all, money was the only thing she truly cared about, even more than family. And yet, as I stood there holding a single wrapped box in my hands, I knew that tonight wasn't about celebration, it was about revelation. I watched Vanessa strut across the room in her sparkling silver gown, soaking up every compliment, every admiring glance. To everyone else, she was the picture of success, a self-made woman who had built her empire from the ground up. They didn't know the truth. They didn't know she had clawed her way here by betraying her own sister. But they were about to find out. "Clara," Vanessa exclaimed loudly when she finally noticed me. She hugged me just enough for the cameras to flash, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I could almost hear her gritting her teeth. She hadn't expected me to come, not after everything. "Happy birthday, Vanessa," I said softly, handing her the small, perfectly wrapped box. "I got you something special." She raised an eyebrow, smirking. "Well, I'm surprised. Didn't think you'd actually show." "Oh, I wouldn't miss this for the world." She didn't know it, but that statement was the truest thing I'd ever said. Vanessa waited until the room had quieted, then made a show of unwrapping my gift. She loved attention, always had. The moment the lid came off, her confident smirk froze. Inside was not jewelry, not perfume, not money. It was a neatly bound file of documents. Her manicured fingers flipped through the first few pages, and I saw her face pale beneath the foundation. I had spent months preparing this, gathering records, bank statements, forged signatures, every piece of evidence of how she had stolen our parents' inheritance. What is this?" she stammered, her voice lower now. I smiled sweetly, but my words carried through the room. "It's your legacy, Vanessa. Proof of how you manipulated me after Mom and Dad died. Proof of how you siphoned money into your private accounts. Proof of how you betrayed your own sister for greed." The room went utterly silent. I could feel dozens of eyes shifting between us. A few gasps escaped from the crowd. Her friends, her colleagues, they were all witnesses now. Vanessa's laugh came out, nervous, forced. "This is ridiculous. She's lying. Clara's always been jealous of me. That's all this is." I didn't flinch. Instead, I stepped closer, my voice calm, steady, and sure. Check page 7. That's your handwriting on the false agreement you made me sign when I was grieving. And page 13, that's the bank statement showing the transfers. Oh, and the notarized affidavit from your former accountant. That's near the end. He was more than happy to talk once he realized he'd been covering for fraud. Her hands trembled as she slammed the file shut. But the damage was already done. Whispers spread like wildfire across the hall. People were pulling out their phones, snapping pictures, recording videos. The very network of people she had worked so hard to impress were now staring at her with disgust. You set me up, Vanessa hissed under her breath, her eyes narrowing at me like daggers. No, I replied evenly. You set yourself up. I just gave you the gift of truth. I turned to leave, but not before I added, loud enough for everyone to hear, enjoy your party, sister. After tonight, you'll need all the friends you can get, though I doubt you'll have many left. And with that, I walked out, head high, my heels clicking against the marble floor like a victory march. Behind me, chaos erupted. Vanessa's friends and associates demanded answers. Someone shouted, "Is this true?" Another voice snapped, "I trusted you with my money." Her empire, built on lies, was crumbling in real time. I didn't look back. For years, I had carried the weight of her betrayal, convincing myself that blood ties meant forgiveness. That if I just kept quiet, maybe I could preserve some shred of the bond we once had. But now, for the first time, I felt free. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice. The next week, Vanessa's face was splashed across the news. Fraud, embezzlement, sibling betrayal. Her fall from grace was swift and merciless. Business partners pulled out. Friends vanished. By the end of the month, she was facing legal charges. And me? I was finally at peace. I poured myself a cup of tea one evening, sitting by the window as the city lights sparkled in the distance. My phone buzzed, another message from an unknown number, another desperate plea from Vanessa. "Clara, please, help me. You can't do this to me. You're my sister." I let the message sit unanswered. Because she was wrong. I didn't do this to her. She did this to herself. And on her birthday, all I had done was hand her the truth, wrapped neatly in a box. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge doesn't come from screaming or fighting. It comes from letting people face the consequences of their own actions. And as I sipped my tea, I realized that was the best gift I had ever given her. The gift of finally being exposed. The gift of no longer being able to hide. The gift of justice. So tell me, have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted the most? A sibling, a friend, maybe even family? Share your story in the comments below, because your truth deserves to be heard too. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. You never know when the sweetest revenge might inspire your own.